Hello,
Hello, hello.
But you were just asking, should we start our podcast with I'm Alex, I'm Gerta?
Yeah.
I feel like our audience, because we just started, the people who watch it are people who already know us.
It'll feel too official
Yeah,
or something. Because
maybe.
when I listen to other podcasts, they always say, welcome to podcast name. I'm Alex, I'm Gerta. We are a husband-wife business where we help people negotiate their job offers and
business deals.
business deals. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Should we start off that way?
We'll keep that. Today, I am very excited about this topic. There's been a few episodes that I've been very excited about. One of them, just to recap, was when we were interviewing our friend who we actually blurred her face.
Yeah.
Because the stakes are pretty high, but she went to a top world-class business school, was taking a negotiations course, a class at that top business school during the time when she was having a negotiation with her upcoming job offer. She had even negotiated throughout her career before that. She was not a new negotiator. And yet she pretty much...
She almost doomed her offer.
She almost doomed her offer.
And the relationship with that company.
Yeah, to the point where she had to literally go down, knock at their door.
Go to the
in person.
Company headquarters.
Yeah, and this was only a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Who goes in person anymore? That episode was so validating for me because it was a lot of the arguments we hear from our leads who are considering working with us. They're like, I'm already a good negotiator. I've done this for my job. I went to a great business school. I'm pretty senior. All the arguments they give, she checks all those boxes. And yet her negotiation went extremely poorly. And she's our friend. She's a wonderful human. One main thing that ruins negotiations is when you're very aggressive and rude, but she's not. She's such a good friend of ours.
Yeah. And we see this with our clients as well.
Yeah.
The people who do end up working with us, there were some of whom had told us before they signed that said, look, I already know how to negotiate. I've done this in my job. I've negotiated past offers before. Why do I need you guys?
Yeah.
And once we do start working with them, they
realize
they realize
how much goes into it.
Yeah, how valuable it is. And
it.
Also, a benefit of working with us is we've seen basically every type of situation and scenario.
In a job offer, across so many industries.
Across all industries, roles, experience levels. And I think our clients have found it very valuable that we bring this unbiased emotions outside of the situation perspective. And our clients having that reassurance, knowing that we've seen this and know how to navigate things and how things should be unfolding, has been really valuable to them.
Yeah. Cool. So why am I so excited about this? Actually, no one has mentioned this as an argument as to why not to work with us, but it is in the back of my mind, which is now AI has gotten so good. People are going to AI for therapy. What about for negotiations consulting?
Right. We do get this question a lot. People have asked when they hear about us working on this business, they say, do you use AI as part of your service?
Yes. Do you use AI? Yes. By the way, we don't, but
we haven't heard people say yet,
I'll just use AI.
I'll just use AI to help with negotiations.
Yeah. And very quickly, since you asked that, do we use AI? The only times I can think of when we use AI is we have a newsletter and sometimes we're like, how do I say this word differently? Synonyms for, I don't know, persistent. We help our clients write a lot of emails and texts with the company, but we craft those from scratch ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's extremely important to not have the other party think that you're using AI. It's such a turnoff.
Yeah.
It makes you look kind of ridiculous. It's also not authentic. I'm so against using AI in formulating your thoughts and especially in negotiations. If it's just a thank you note after an interview, but then even that, can you come up with that yourself?
Yeah, just personalize it.
I can't think of an email that you want to use AI for, especially where the risk is so high that if they can sense that you use AI, it's such a huge turnoff.
Why introduce that risk?
Yeah, why introduce that risk when you can just write a quick thank you note?
And with negotiations, there's so much reading in between the lines, the tonality, what is in the unsaid, as opposed to what's being communicated. It requires a lot of intuition,
care,
and that
thoughtfulness.
Yeah, that AI just can't capture.
Yeah, cannot capture, and then it sounds so generic, and then there's all these like hidden things in AI that's like the M dashes, which has become a meme now. But early AI, we didn't know, or maybe people hadn't quite
Caught onto it.
caught on to it. And sometimes I see Instagram posts that are older from other people. Oh, I see the M dash, and or there's this structure. I don't know if this is a well-known thing. I'm not very in the pop media. I'm not on IG as much these days, but ChatGPT also has this phrasing of things, not because this, but because this, the not structure of a sentence. And so when I see that, I'm like, oh, that's ChatGPT.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No?
But
Do you
now
see it now?
I think that I've seen that.
Like do this and that, not because you're tired, but because you want to maximize your efforts.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna keep an eye out for that now.
Yeah. So
Speaking of AI,
we have prepared a conversation with AI. Let me backtrack a little bit. Another thing people have asked us is, why don't you train a GPT on your materials and then just package that, productize that, and sell that? A lot of coaches and consultants do this. One of my favorite relationships coaches, Matthew Hussey, he has productized, he has trained, I think, a GPT or a competitor. And now you can chat with it as if you're texting with Matthew Hussey. And of course, I thought about that, but I don't trust. We all know the risks of AI, including hallucination, and I don't trust AI to just run with our materials that it's trained on and to not say anything outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we haven't done it. Another reason is that it's such a delicate situation to use AI for a job offer. What if you make one mistake, you lose the job offer?
Yeah, it's very high stakes.
It's very high stakes. I can't imagine a world in which I'm like, sure, I'll let AI run with this. Maybe, maybe it could be something like, I'll let AI propose a strategy and then I can say, okay, this sounds good or not. But we're already so past that. We already know what works and what doesn't. I don't need AI to tell me to propose a strategy and then I'm like, yes or no.
Right.
That just creates more work. So beyond that, we wanted to just see is it okay if we say that it's ChatGPT? I mean, it's very obvious that it's ChatGPT.
Should we just throw in an allegedly, just so that we're legally covered? I've seen other podcasts do that.
ChatGPT. I'm not sure if we're going to end up saying that it is ChatGPT or not. Let's think about this. But we went with an AI model. I was curious, how does it respond to some common questions we get and some of our advice that we give? We've recorded our conversation with it. And we want to show you where we agree and where we disagree. Ultimately, the idea is that, of course, there's some good advice in it, but because it's so convincing, it's hard to know which part to leave and which part to take. Mm-hmm. And I would not risk it because the stakes are so high.
Yeah, so the point of this exercise and what we want to show our listeners is, if you use ChatGPT for negotiations advice, this is what it will give you. We did this ourselves, and we want to walk our audience through what it gave us, and we noticed some red flags in the responses that this AI model gave us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. Let's look at this. So we're looking at my phone, looking at the recording of our conversation with AI. The first question we asked was, when should you negotiate a job offer? This is a common question we get. Not the hardest, but also not the most obvious. So it says, you should negotiate a job offer after you receive a formal offer, ideally in writing, but before you sign or verbally accept it. Here's a more detailed breakdown of the timing.
So, best time to negotiate a job offer after the offer is extended, but before you accept. Okay, that seems sound.
Yeah.
Once the company
before you accept, I mean, that sounds pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But actually, some very junior, maybe college students might not know this. Once you've accepted, it's a done deal.
Well, also, we've had people approach us to work
That's true.
with us after they accepted the offer, and they're like,
true.
hey, can you help me? And we're like, after you sign the letter, you've basically given away all your leverage.
Yeah.
There really isn't much room for you to ask for more.
And if you do ask for more, it's a bit of a flag. because it's like any other contract. Some people don't realize a job offer is like any other contract. You've agreed to something and now someone comes back with, oh, actually, can you do more? It's not a good relationship building exercise.
Yeah. And then moving on to point 2, before signing anything. Okay, so we just covered this.
Yeah.
Of course, you want to negotiate before you fully accept. Before the offer expires, that's pretty obvious.
That's pretty obvious.
So
too.
far, this information is pretty generic.
Yeah, it's correct.
And maybe it's good for you to have a reminder on these things. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
correct
definitely
here, right?
correct. Maybe it's good. Yeah, I mean, our audience is execs in tech and tech adjacent companies, as well as mid-career professionals. I hope you already know to negotiate before the offer expires.
So point number 4, this is something that caught our attention.
This is where we disagree.
Yeah, so after doing your homework, come prepared with market data, clear priorities, and a confident ask. This shows you're serious and respectful.
We've said this many times, but if this is the first time you hear us saying this, one of our hottest takes is that we think that market data is not a good use of your time.
Doing all the research and finding...
Doing all the research. People come to me and they're like, I looked at levels. I should be this level. I should be making this much. Other people are making this much. We've talked about this, so I don't want to go too deep into it. But some of the reasons why market data is not useful, the main one is that any open seat has its own budget for how much they want to pay, that they might pay below market or above market based on their own internal reasons. For example, below market because they might not have enough budget, they might not have enough sense of urgency to fill the role. Above market is in case they have some press release, or if they're fundraising, or they want to make a splash, or the team is stretched thin, or this role hasn't been filled in a while. So you come in with your market data and you're like, this is how much I should be paid because I read it on Levels or Reddit or Google or LinkedIn, wherever you read it. And they're like, sorry, but this is our budget. We have a different budget from whatever you saw, wherever you saw it on the internet. I think it's because we work with such high achieving people, they're very data driven.
Yeah.
I love data. I have a degree in math and another in engineering, but data in this context is not useful. Another reason, just to squeeze this in, is that the data that you as a job applicant can find easily without paying any money is employee reported. It's not employer reported, and so it's usually very inaccurate. And then think of like who's going to all these websites and posting their true compensation, even if they are posting their true compensation. It's not necessarily a representative.
It's someone who would
take
the time to do that, and perhaps they're doing it from a pessimistic perspective if they were laid off or something. Yeah. I'm reminded in our past episode where we interviewed Kevin Hong, for let's say you have access to employer reported data. Yeah. He's worked in people ops and HR for a very long time, and one thing that he reminded us is even employer reported data can be very skewed because sometimes companies will report pay ranges that make their company look good into these systems.
Yeah. And make their company look good does not necessarily mean make their company sound like they pay a lot, but it also means make them seem like they pay, for example, men and women the same or similarly, or different races or different parts of the population. And so they may have messed with the data before reporting it.
Yeah. So TLDR on the market research. Data is it's not that useful.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
For negotiations.
So we already disagree with AI on the very first question, point number 4. The first 3 points were correct. Let's keep going. And then it says, avoid negotiating when?
The offer hasn't been made. Okay, that's good. You're emotionally reactive or panicked. True. You haven't thought through what you actually want. This hits the mark, still pretty generic, very high level.
Okay, moving on to the next question. I do want to mention something here before we move on. It sounds like the implication here is that, for example, especially the point on you're emotionally reactive or panicked, I get the sense that the subtext is that you're negotiating in person or in real time, which is something we don't recommend. And I'll leave it at that.
Second question we wanted to test AI for.
How should you negotiate a job offer? We wanted to keep this broad because we imagine, what will AI say? Some points that it gave are negotiating a job offer is both an art and a strategy. I fully agree with that. It's such an art and a strategy and a science in a way. Think of behavioral sciences. There are some proven ways and studies that have been shown. One of my favorites that we mention quite a bit is if you add the word because when you're asking for something, you typically increase the chances of getting what you want by a very meaningful amount. And I use a lot of behavioral science studies on what we recommend our clients. Then it says, don't accept on the spot.
It hits the mark.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yep.
Say something like this. I'm really excited about the offer. M dash. Would it be okay if I take
M dash?
M dash. Would it be okay if I take a day or two to review everything, get back to you? People might be tempted to just copy and paste this. Do not, because there's the M dash and then the who uses M dashes? Who used M dashes before 2024?
Yeah.
No one. And so it's a flag. Honestly, when I see M dashes and AI sounding language, I am very turned off.
Also, I don't love the language. Would it be okay if I take her
Yeah,
there too?
it's a little too
submissive.
Submissive, for lack of a better word.
Like you're asking for their permission. My first thought would have been to instead say,
would you mind if I take a couple
yeah,
days
or
to
it's
think
like
about it?
it's like I would love to take
I'd
1 or
love to
2
take
days
yeah,
to get back to you. I'll let you know if I have any questions in the meantime.
And look at sort of such nuance that could really make a difference in your negotiations. This is already a strong response, and we've already found a couple issues with it. That's another reason why it's tricky to use AI. The second point is,
get the offer in writing. Verbal offers are not binding. Written offers make it easier to compare and spot gaps. Example, missing signing bonus, unclear equity vesting schedule.
Yeah,
So we do agree with this. The thing that I would add here is, of course, you want to get the offer in writing. That helps you. But how do you do that, right? How are you making the ask in a way where you're not, doesn't seem like you're trying to pressure the company into it? If they say no, then how do you respond to that? This captures the high level of what you should do.
Yeah.
But there's so much nuance in how you go about it. Yeah. And the way that the company responds, there are then a number of different ways to respond to that. Yeah. So it just...
And I want to add to your point that when you work with us, first we're familiar with like tens, if not hundreds of companies out there, especially the top ones, but also startups. And we know, for example, Amazon is an aggressive negotiator. Netflix is a bit of a strong arming negotiator, right? Meta is somewhere in the middle. Google is a more lenient one. We know the cultures. And if we don't, we know how to read the culture of a company, and we recommend you to negotiate in a way that is appropriate to that culture.
Yeah, and because we've been running this business for several years, we've seen the trends over how companies shift their negotiation tactics. There's this one really big tech company in mind. I won't necessarily say the name, but we have seen them change their interview process and their negotiation process across the same roles, very similar products and teams.
Yes.
And sometimes these things are changing and they differ at the same time. So we'll have multiple clients applying to this company, and the interview and negotiation process looks very, very different across
I think I know which company you're talking about, but actually there's several companies that have changed their tactics. So one of the things that I find fascinating is like when we were starting our business about 2.5 years ago or so, we were saying get a written offer, and we were helping our first few clients get a written offer. But then we were also shouting this from the rooftops, get a written offer. It gives you more leverage because ABC. And it's one of the things that gives you the most leverage. And the same companies that we had helped some clients get a written offer, they found a work around it, which is they started sending our clients either the offer in the body of an email or as a PDF, but that you can't sign. It's technically in writing and they seem collaborative. You ask for a written offer. They seem like they are giving you what you want, but it's not the true leverage, which is you want an offer that you can sign. So I'd like to think they responded to our advice, but we're a few steps ahead. We know what to do even when they don't give you a written offer, which was the other point. Yes, sometimes, very often nowadays, companies will not give you a written offer. And so we help you evaluate how much to push for that. Is it worth using your negotiation chips on getting the written offer or just start negotiating? And that is such an art. And also we incorporate your priorities into it. So if you have other offers, maybe we discuss like, hey, it's okay if we press to get a written offer, spend some negotiation chips on asking for the written offer. But then if you don't have other offers and you're desperate to get this job, we play a little more safely.
Point number 3 here. Know what you're negotiating. Key components, base salary, bonus, such as signing an annual, equity, such as stock options or RSUs, benefits, such as PTO, health, 401k, education, wellness, relocation, etc. And then it also says title, scope, start date. This is a good list.
It's a good list.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of our clients come in with their own preferences. So it could be things that are not included here. Work from home setup. And then one of the most entertaining things that maybe people have missed, we've talked about it before. We had a client a couple years ago. She wanted to negotiate the company to cover her milk delivery service as she had just had a baby.
And she would have had to travel pretty frequently for
her
this
job. And it's actually very fascinating. Do we have an episode on this? Because
we should do a full deep dive into this case study.
Yeah.
Because we realized that her ask was so specific, it could distract from the other priorities that she had.
And we helped her make so much more money than
Tens of
whatever that
thousands.
delivery service cost, which
Yeah.
was a couple thousand. It wasn't very, very low. It was a couple thousand a year. Awesome. And then question 4 is?
Ask questions before countering. You can buy time and gather intel by asking, is this offer negotiable? Can you walk me through how comp is determined for this role? How flexible are you on equity and salary?
I really like this question.
I do like these questions.
I don't like is this offer negotiable?
Yeah, it's kind of like asking, can I ask you for more money? I don't know. It seems a little. We've never advised someone to say that.
Yeah. Why even just go straight into it?
Yeah.
Don't waste. Yeah. Don't waste a question or a chip on this.
Yeah.
You were going to say something else?
It was that.
Number 4 is craft a clear, confident counter structure. Express excitement. Anchor your ask with data or rationale. Be specific and concise. And then it gives an example. So again, we fully agree with express excitement. Disagree with anchoring your ask with data or rationale.
Again, we already spoke to the data piece.
About the data piece.
And the be specific and concise.
I think it's in the context of the data, and we already said don't give any data. Yep. Don't worry about market data and don't counter with a number. And then we have a couple more points here. So we have point 6, which is don't justify but position. So it says avoid saying because I need the money. Instead, frame it as aligning with the market or your experience. It's tricky. I like the word because, and studies show that it makes you more likely to get what you want. But of course, because I need the money is a terrible argument. We agree. Because the job is not there to give you what you need. It's there to
for what
fill
value
the role.
You bring
and
to the company.
Instead, frame it as aligning with the market or your experience.
I don't love the aligning with the market.
Because again, a company, so I used to work at salary.com, which is where I was advising hundreds of companies on how to pay their employees. So aligning with the market, when we were looking at market data at salary.com, we are looking at the 50th percentile. How much does the 50th percentile pay? I guess the average company. 75th, 90th, etc. Where in the market are you aligning? So there's that. And then your experience matters during interviews, but at the point where they've already made you an offer, you already know they like you. I like the what's in it for me framing. Think of as you're negotiating or as you are presenting or in various business settings, you want to think about what's in it for them. If you make an argument like pay me more because I have so much experience, but what's in it for them? Maybe you can say I add more value and things like that. But if your experience is not very relevant or they already picked you because of your experience, at this point is probably not as relevant anymore as an argument.
Yeah. All right, and the final point to this question, number 7, know when to stop. Push once, maybe twice. After that, decide if you're willing to walk. If they say no, ask, is there any flexibility anywhere else in the offer? This point, I think it's important to keep in mind, know when to stop, but it advises you to push once, maybe twice. The thing is,
I
The
disagree.
number of times you negotiate really depends on your situation and how things have unfolded up to that point. So there isn't a hard universal rule that you have 1 to 2 times or
No.
1 to 2 opportunities to
Yeah.
push.
You need to read the room. This is the art part. You need to read the room. And the science part is that there are magic words that can help you figure out when to stop. And that's when the company says, this is our best and final offer.
Yeah. But even to that, there are
You can still
exceptions.
push even then.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And yeah, we've helped clients push beyond that.
yeah.
If they say no, ask, is there any flexibility anywhere else in the offer? I would be careful with this as well, because you have your own list of priorities, and just asking in an open-ended way, they might give you flexibility in something you don't care too much about. I would actually go down the list of your priorities.
They're like, yeah, we'll give you a monthly pizza party or something.
Or, I don't know, public transportation reimbursement, and you have a car and you weren't even going to use public transit. So something like that. When we work with people, the first thing we do is we get crystal clear on what their priorities are, and we actually pressure test each point, because sometimes people think they have a priority in a certain area, but it ends up being that's not the true priority. So very often, because this market is so tough, a client will come to us and they'll say, hey, I really care about my title, my level. I don't want to be under level. This offer is under leveling me. And then we pressure pointed. Well, is it because you think they're going to give you an offer that's lower than what you had? And it's usually that's why they want a better title. If they can get the same offer as what they had or better, they don't care as much about title or level. That's actually one of my favorite exercises we do with our clients.
One more point on this final knowing when to stop. We have helped our clients catch things that they thought the recruiter or company had communicated, but it turned out that there was much more flexibility. So, for example, I think we have talked about this in a previous episode, but they said we can't move on base. And so
and the client heard
we can't move on the offer.
we can't. So they said something like, "Oh, the salary is non-negotiable. The base salary is non-negotiable." And the client comes to us and they said the offer is not non-negotiable. And we asked, what exactly did they say? And I love when they forward me emails and I find in the email, they said that the base salary was non-negotiable. This actually happened with a client. Like, oh, they said the base is non-negotiable, but there's so much else to it. You can get a sign-on bonus. You can get more equity and every other stuff, start date or whatever.
Yeah.
PTO.
And just to reinforce, all our client work stays fully confidential. So
Absolutely.
when they share with us emails, that never goes anywhere. It's just purely for us to help them strategize and get the best comp increases.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. We asked, how would you counter a job offer?
And AI told us, here's how to counter a job offer.
It said, step-by-step counter offer template. Number 1, start with appreciation and enthusiasm. Love this, but it does propose some language which says, thanks again for the offer, M dash. I'm really excited about the opportunity and the team. Again, don't use AI.
Yeah, this feels like a template sentence,
Yeah.
not what you would send in the final draft.
Number 2 is clearly state what you're hoping to adjust.
After reviewing the offer and doing some market research, I was hoping we could revisit the base salary and equity components.
We talked about market research not being important. We also want to make sure you negotiate what's important to you. As we said, for many of our clients, it's not just base salary. It could be start date, it could be PTO, it could be work from home setup, it could be travel reimbursement. Think carefully what you're negotiating. Number 3,
make your ask specific. Given my experience and the scope of the role, I'd like to discuss a base of 145K and 40,000 RSUs up from 25,000.
Again, have we said this yet? We don't recommend making a specific counter offer. We don't recommend giving numbers or ranges pretty much ever.
Number 4, give a rationale without over justifying. I mean, I generally agree with that. Based on what I've seen in the market, and this is the script that AI was giving us. Based on what I've seen in the market for roles with similar responsibilities, this range feels aligned and competitive.
What do you think about that? So again, market research, a company can always say we have our own compensation philosophy, or we pay at a certain market percentile, not the one you've seen. And also giving a range. We've covered this so much, especially at the beginning of our business, But giving a range is the same as giving a number, because when you give a range, you're saying that you're willing to accept the lowest number in the range. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to get paid, I don't know, 200 to 300, but you've already said you'll accept 200.
Yeah. I can't think of a scenario where a company gets a range and they're like, oh, they said 200 to 300. Let's give them that 300.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, close collaboratively. An AI gives some language. It says, I'd love to find a way to make this work. M dash. Let me know your thoughts. Love the close collaboratively tip. Don't love the M dash. And then the AI gives a full counter email. We already picked it apart as we went through these. So moving on to the next question.
The next question is, if a company asks you for a preferred salary during job interviews, what should you say?
Right. So then AI says, deflect politely, then flip the question, and it proposes language. I'd love to learn more about the role and the full compensation structure before locking in a specific number. Can you share the budgeted range for this position? Something to keep in mind is that in a lot of US states, there are laws now where companies need to put a salary range on their job posts. If they know anything about negotiations, they know not to put real numbers there, not their true budget, not their true bands, like pay bands that are internal to the company. And so those numbers are not real. And when you ask for their budgeted range for the position, they will most likely share those numbers with you, which are not real.
Here, number 2, if they push you again, stay firm but cooperative. And the script here is, I'm really focused on finding the right mutual fit. I trust that if we both feel it's a great match, the compensation will reflect the value I bring. That said, I'd be happy to consider any offer you think is fair.
This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This script isn't bad, and I like this.
This is good. Yeah, this is good. Number 3 is, if you must give a number, for example, in an application form, research the market, for example, Glassdoor, levels.fyi, blind, etc. As we've said repeatedly throughout this episode, market research will not help you. If anything, it might make you seem a little naive, or it might make you lose some negotiation chips that you could use in other ways. And again, even if it were a valid argument, which is not, because companies have their own compensation philosophies, you can't rely on data that you as an applicant are finding online, because it's just not good data.
Can you speak to the naive part? Why would doing market research potentially make you look naive?
Because the company can just say, we don't pay those numbers, or like, where did you find this data? Oh, this is just randos posting on Reddit and Glassdoor and Levels. So that's not good data. So companies pay thousands of dollars to have access to real market data on how much to pay a certain role in a certain location in a certain industry. When I worked at salary.com, companies were paying thousands, if not tens of thousands, to have access to that data, which is employer reported, sometimes very often pulled out straight of the HR system.
Yeah.
Similarly, startups, they pay Carta. Carta has a compensation platform. Carta is primarily for fundraising and managing your cap table, but it also has a compensation module that you can pay for. Again, like very expensive. And so it seems naive. You found someone on Reddit saying you should make this much. The reality is we pay so much to get access to true market data.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a person who was exploring working with us. They didn't end up working with us, but then they were negotiating on their own, and they were keeping us updated along the way. And that
this
naive
is on our
point,
website. This is on our website.
It's on our website. It's on our newsletter. And I think we did a past podcast episode about this.
We embedded this video as a video on our website because of what a funny case study, what an interesting case study this is.
Yeah. And the part that I'm reminded of right now is that he did his market research, and then he approached the company to negotiate and said, based on my market research, I should be paid, I don't know, $250K. And that didn't take into context of where that company was, and there are a lot of specifics and nuances of that company. And the company responded by saying, look, our C-suite execs don't even make close to like you're 100K off of what we're paying.
And they're like, we were thinking more 140K, and it made him look so bad.
So that's why we've said it so many times. Hopefully it's sunk in. Market research,
Yeah.
You don't want to overly rely on it, if not even rely on it at all for negotiations.
Even if they're very understanding and positive, they might at minimum think you won't be happy there. If you're looking at roles that are paying 250K and they're offering you 140, even if they go to 150, 160, they worry that you will not be happy there. Okay. Another tip that AI gives, it says, if you must give a number, give a range, not a single number. This is simple math. If you give a range, you're sharing that the lowest number in the range is acceptable to you, and that's the same thing as giving a number. And then their third point, if you must give a number, anchor high, recommend some language. Based on my research and experience, I'd expect something in the X to Y range for this role. Again, it's a range, not good. It's same as giving a number. Giving a number is not great.
And you also
I
don't
rest
want,
my case.
yeah, you don't want to give a number. We've shared this logic before, but basically, if you share a number or range,
Yeah, why do we not want to give a number?
because the company has a number that they will never share with you, and that you will never know unless they make a mistake.
It's their budget. They have
Their
a budget
maximum
for this role.
Their maximum budget for how much they're willing to pay someone to fill that role. So if you give a number, because you'll never know that number, if the number you give falls below that range, that means you've left money on their table.
They could give you what you want. Sometimes they might give you even less.
Yeah.
But they could give you what you want, but then you've left money on the table because they had more.
And if the number that you give falls above that range, you're just introducing risk that they think that
You're entitled. You don't understand the role, just like the case study we talked about.
You're entitled, that there's a misalignment in the role.
You will not be happy there.
Right.
Cool. I'm going to stop sharing the conversation with AI.
In this example, there were a lot of things that we agreed with here with AI, but there were also other aspects that we probably would have advised differently, or there's a lot more nuance required in it.
I feel like even if one of these points were something we disagree with, it's already so risky. You have so much at stakes, but we disagreed with like at least half of the points. And so I personally would not risk it. Of course, we're biased. We want you to work with us if it makes sense to work together. And if that's the case, schedule a free consultation call with us.
Okay.
Awesome. We can wrap it up here.
We can wrap it here, and we will see you on the next episode of Gentle Power.
Gentle Power.